specifically fragmentation, which includes the actual fragmenting of the tables and also allocation. Yes, so the way you formally fragment tables, not just decide that I want to split the tables between the different campuses. Let's assume you are selected as an I system. No, it's not like that. Just be advised by the application, right? Yeah, so you think of a domain or a system, think of the reports of the application that are going to run in the system. Then using those reports or applications, they advise you on how to fragment. Yeah, start from midterm predicates, simple predicates, midterm predicates, and so on. Vertical fragmentation, look at affinity measures, then those ones are going to guide you to do the fragmentation. And then you come up with some simulated application access frequencies. Yeah, maybe site one runs this application 10 times a month. This other site runs the same application once a month, and so on. And that information helps you to determine the allocation of each of those fragments, right? So you work that out in a document, which you submit. Do some of that document showing how you've worked out, narrating the problem, showing you the applications in English. The applications also as SQL. Then the tables, the entity relationship diagram. So if it's a table that has invoices, for example, invoice details, show me the relationships, the fields, and then you fragment a table. Remember that fragmenting, if you chose an invoices, for example, to fragment it horizontally, you don't again fragment that same table invoices vertically. Yeah, so I'll be testing for that. You pick a table, fragment it, whichever way you decide, then pick a different table, fragment it in a different way, another table in a different way. Once you have done the fragmentation, then you need to apply that fragmentation in the system. In your environment, we call it an environment. And I'll say that you need to have at least 2 different operating systems. And the total number of sites is 3, and have 3 or more. Yeah, so you can have 2 sites running on one operating system, another site running on a different operating system. You should have 3 different database platforms: Oracle, SQL Server, MySQL, Postgre, like that. So there should be 3 different technologies. So you can you've worked out the fragmentation. You have fragments on paper. Then those fragments, you implement them in the actual participating databases. Yeah, so you have 3 sites. And in your story, remember at the beginning of the assignment, you have the narrative of the system, what it does, and the applications that are the queries. Now on the nodes, if you can call them nodes, the 3 different sites, you do the fragmentation, you apply the fragmentation. Assuming you have 2 fragments of invoices, and you've allocated to site 1 and site 2 on the paper, on the working out, you go to the physical machine. Yeah, you can use virtual machines to one of the nodes and implement site 1 and apply in the first fragment of invoices that physically you make a database table representing that fragment. Maybe you call it invoices 1, with the columns that you had designed on paper. And then you add some dummy records there. And those records should, of course, obey the rules of fragmentation. Yeah, so if you fragmented some predicates, the records are supposed to follow those predicates. Go to site 2 and implement the second fragment of invoices. Yeah, and that's why you need to also do the allocation. Remember, you want to have done the fragmentation and you've done the allocation. That should be applied onto your system, the 3 sites. So site 1, if the site 1 represents Nairobi, you should actually call it Nairobi. That one is such and such allocation. Okay, so you apply the fragment. You want to see the fragments actually implemented in the databases. Uh, yes, so sorry for that. Where were we? Yes, I was saying that implement the fragment as tables in the site physically. So that if I want to see invoices one, I'll go and see it and open that MariaDB, see it there as a fragment. Of course, if you have done fragmentation, it should not be possible for you to have this two fragments on the same site, two fragments on the same table. It's unlikely unless one of them is a replica and the primary copy is on a different site. Because otherwise there will be no need of fragmenting. If you're going to put the same two different fragments or all the fragments in one site, then there would be no purpose of fragmenting in the first place. All right, that is now the fragmentation and allocation and implementing it in an actual database platform. Now for reconstruction, because an application will be supposed to be unaware that there are fragments, it wants to get invoices, for example. Yes, you select one of those sites to be like your control site, to simulate a control site where a request has come and one site is handling the request. And you can use views. You can pick one of those databases. Maybe you've picked MS Access. Then you link it with the other two databases. With using whatever technique you want to link it, it's possible to integrate databases nowadays. Yeah, so in that MS Access, for example, it has fragments for whatever tables you have fragment it has, but it also serves as a what? As a central, as a control site. You should have you can implement using views. Okay, you don't have to write any code outside of the databases. You can implement views or functions or whatever technique you want to implement. That you want to implement reconstruction. You know, views, once you write the code for picking data from different places, it acts as if it's a table object, it's a relation, such that if I select data from that view, I'm able to get the global relation, right? Assume you have the invoices, it's two fragments. And one of the fragments is in the MS Access database. Then you have a view. You can call the view invoices, but the view inside it has code to pick data from invoices 1 and also invoices 2 and reconstruct. If it was a PHF, you could reconstruct using what? Using Union, right? So you put that code for reconstruction of invoices. Okay, so that if I was to write a query on global relations that says select stuff from invoices, I'm able to run that query on the control side because it will find an object called invoices, which is a view, and that view does the reconstruction automatically. Yeah. So pick a database that is able to connect with the other databases for your reconstruction or for the global relations. Okay. You'll have other tables also. So those are the tables that should be reconstructed there at the control site. Okay. Supposing you have used views, I should be able to see views of all the global relations that you have started with in the beginning. Remember, at the beginning, you had that entity relationship diagram that had the several tables and how they're related. I should be able to see those entities or those relations, those global tables, as views, if you have used views to do the reconstruction. And they should be live views. The good thing with views is that it's not data stored, it's code that SQL that reads data. If one changes, if somebody updates data on site 2, for example, that has a fragment of invoices, maybe they had a new invoice or they changed the date of an invoice. When you go to the central site, and refresh the, that view, or just open the view again, uh, since it is pulling data from the different sources, uh, that new change is going to appear in the global relation. Okay, so you fragment, allocate, and then you're able to reconstruct and give me the global relations. Yes, that's what you're going to do. And the output of that work, the two outputs, there is a document showing the working out of the fragmentation and also the location, with some assumptions. You can put assumptions of the site, the access frequency of the different applications. You can also have uh, what is there as an assumption? Yeah, the access frequency, how often applications run, so it can use that to do the allocation. And that is also using the vertical fragmentation. Yeah? Any assumption that you need to make, you make it in that document. And the final thing, just before the allocation, you need to draw those fragments. Yeah? If Invoices has two fragments, draw those fragments with at least two records in each fragment, that I know that you have understood what the kind of records that are supposed to be there, and the kind of columns that are supposed to be there. For vertical fragmentation, you need to show those affinity matrices, and then you know that how you circle, how you cluster. I need to see the clustering. You can use some colors to show that this one cluster, this is another cluster. And then down there, you do the actual fragment that has come out of that computation. That's one, that's a document. Then the second output, since you're many and I've said that you either do it yourself or in a group of two, I need you to do a recording. You present, assume you're presenting to me, but you do it as a video. Do a video of the presentation. Not more than 7 minutes. Should be 5 to 7 minutes of presentation. When you're presenting, the first can have a slide at the beginning of the presentation containing your name, most importantly your registration numbers. If you are two, if you yourself have your registration number only, and then the narrative of the system. That is enough, because I'll have the document anyway to follow through. That's enough. Then if we also talk about the system, as you show me the implementation of the sites. I have one site, so this is a site that has this fragment. Here's a fragment, open the fragment, I see the data. Open the next fragment, go to the other site, show me the data that is there. Then go to the control site, show me the views, if you have views, show me the code for the reconstruction, how you're able to reconstruct, then run that reconstruction, and I see that it can actually pick the data from the different and from the remote fragments. Then to prove that it is a live connection, open the fragments, change some data there, then rerun that reconstruction, then I see that the data it is now picking is what has been updated. Yes, that is it. So it should not take more than 7 minutes. I'll pose this question in the group, in the Google Classroom, exactly as I've explained, and as an assignment, right? Then you submit those two things, the report and the video. All right, I take questions. About that assignment. Yes, Craig.
Yes, for the part that you mentioned, virtual machines, can we use Docker as a as an alternative?
Yes, you can use Docker. Yeah, as long as you're able to show that this is a different site and it's running this and this, you can use Docker and virtualize in any way.
I have another question.
Mhm.
So for the point of the control site where we're implementing like views, can someone use something like the way an object relational mapper like SQL Alchemy, it somehow like standardizes how all of the different SQL dialects look like. So maybe using like something like that on the control side.
Yes, you're free to choose any technology. I have seen in the past students actually writing code in Python to do the reconstruction. That is okay. Yeah.
So there's no way to automate like the fragmentation. Like there's no certain type of DB that can house these other DBs below. It will be manual splitting on our end.
Yes, I don't need you. I don't expect you to do the to automate the fragmentation. Because the purpose is to know that you have understood how fragmentation works. Once you've worked out of the document, you just create tables manually
Mhm.
in the system. You can use the same naming convention. If PDF you said invoices underscore one, have it also as invoices underscore one with the field that you have done. Yeah, because I'm not trying to check that you can automate it. I'm trying to check that you understood what fragmentation is about. That's the purpose, yes.
Okay. So thank you.
Great. Right. Anybody else? Right. And this was going to be due on Wednesday, January 15th. Maybe opening on the 13th. Opening on the 13th, January. So it will be due on the 15th of January. Yeah. For this year, learning is continuing up to 12th December. So classes are still on until 12th. Then you close on the 13th Friday, all the way through Christmas, New Year's, uh, and you come on the 13th. 13th that is the third week of January. All right. I'd also asked, you can ask your class rep to forward me a topic if you need a topic. If you need us to meet again in class for a full class, then I go through one of the topics that you might want to do a revision on. Yes, you've already agreed that the cut is going to be 13th January. Yes, so now this assignment will be due on the 15th. All right. So if there's no other question, that was it for today.
Excuse me.
Yes,
So is
fine.
the cat going to be that we open?
The class going to be?
Is it going to be on the day we open? Like you said, we are going to open on that Monday, 13.
Yes, that's what we had said, but you have a proposal, a different proposal.
Yeah, perhaps maybe the Wednesday. Like if we open on 13th, the Wednesday, then makes sense.
Okay, if it makes sense to you, does it make sense to anybody else?
Yes.
Okay. Right. Okay, we can also have the cut on the same day that the assignment is due, so that we have the cut on Wednesday, 15th of January. Yes. Okay. So if there's no other comment, anybody other comment? So if there's no other comment, and supposing that there is no topic that you like us to have a class in, then I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Yes.
Merry Christmas to everyone too.
You too.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you and bye.